with wins. Miami ended a 5-game losing streak. Kansas City ended a 6-game skid. And Detroit, which had lost 21 of 25, won 10-9 at Tampa Bay.
Live from the heart of SEC country, this is your daily fix of grit, guts, and gridiron glory. Welcome to the Deep South College Football Show.
Bowen, here it goes! Georgia retakes the lead!
Breaking down the biggest matchups, the boldest takes, and the deepest rivalries in college football on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
Intercepted! They confused him! Xavier Brown headed the other way! Touchdown Tide!
From Fayetteville to Gainesville, from the Grove to Toomer's Corner, it's SEC football.
Chambers delivers! Touchdown!
Now, here's your award-winning host, Wyatt Fulton.
Welcome into another edition here of the Deep South College Football Show on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports here. Got a fun show for you guys today. We'll talk a little bit about what happened yesterday in the Women's College World Series, the semifinal games, back-to-back doubleheaders. If you paid some money to go hang out in Oklahoma City this week, you got your money's worth yesterday as Texas defeated Tennessee twice to advance to the finals. Those games will start on Wednesday, and then Texas Tech defeats Alabama twice in the Women's College World Series semifinals, as Texas Tech and Texas will rematch from last year's really fun matchup between the Longhorns and the Red Raiders. Now we get to do it again here when you look at Texas Tech versus Texas in the Women's College World Series. We'll also talk a little bit of quarterbacks here in the SEC as we went through and did some previews and things like that of other SEC teams in and around, the conference here. But we'll talk some quarterbacks here today as well and kind of get a general idea of who we think are going to be the starters here in the SEC. You've got quarterback battles going on across the conference, not just in Tuscaloosa. So it should be a fun conversation. New starters, transfers, new starters to the SEC. So should be a fun conversation. We got the gentleman hanging out back in the studio. Gentlemen, how we doing today?
Doing good.
I'm all good.
Jackson and Norris hanging out with us today, as they do every day here on the Deep South College Football Show. We'll get things started here with the Women's College World Series. Texas defeated Tennessee twice last night as the Longhorns took down the Volunteers in back-to-back doubleheader games here. Tennessee was undefeated. The Volunteers needed one win in order to advance to the finals. Texas needed to win 2 games, back-to-back doubleheaders, and that's exactly what the Longhorns did, as Texas, who won the SEC championship, won the SEC tournament championship there, defeated Tennessee. You had 3 SEC teams in the semifinals here. Jackson, did any of us get a chance to watch Texas and Tennessee the other day or yesterday?
I was not able to watch it, but I was keeping up with the score, the box score on the computer here.
Yeah, it looked like a really entertaining game. I didn't get to watch that game, but we know the hitting that Texas brings. I was able to watch the second game, or at least the tail end of the second game there. And Texas has got some hitters, man. They've done a really good job with that hitting staff there and what they've been able to do here when you look at offensive firepower there for the Longhorns. And Tennessee comes up just short of making the Women's College World Series. The Volunteers were undefeated in OKC until yesterday. They lost 2 straight games yesterday, similarly to what happened to Alabama. And I know this is going to be a sore topic for a lot of the listeners, a lot of our fans here in Tuscaloosa, because, hey, you're Alabama fans. We base the show out of Tuscaloosa. We talk a lot about Alabama sports, not only on this program, but on Tide 100.9. And so everybody was really excited to see Alabama potentially get a chance to play for a national championship. Game 1 against Texas Tech. The Red Raiders win that game 5-4. Jackson, did you get a chance to watch this one?
I did. It was a little heartbreaking there at the end.
It was really, really tough. You've got to give all the credit in the world to Alabama, number one. We'll talk about Alabama here first before we talk about the national championship series between Texas and Texas Tech. You've got to give all the credit in the world to Alabama for the fight and the grit and the toughness that they showed in that first game. Alabama hits a sack fly to allow Marley Giles to score in the second inning. Texas Tech immediately comes back and respond. The Red Raiders take a lead in the third inning. Alabama responds in the top of the fourth, and then Texas Tech hits a 2-run shot in the fifth inning there as Alabama had their back against the wall for the rest of the game following the bottom of that fifth inning. A scoreless frame for both teams in the sixth, and things started to get a little hairy for Alabama there in the top of the seventh there. But again, all the credit in the world to what Alabama was able to do. Jocelyn Brisky maybe didn't quite have her best stuff yesterday in game number one. So they bring in Vic Moten, and Vic Moten does a really good job of kind of sitting Texas Tech down in order in the sixth inning there, giving Alabama that chance to go out and potentially, hey, we can tie this game. We can take a lead. Like, we've got our shot now. And that's exactly what Alabama did as Jenna Young had a two-run home run, 1 out, 2-run home run there, allowing Kristen White to score. And suddenly we're tied at 4 in the Women's College World Series semifinal. The fight and the grit and the toughness from Jenna Young and from Alabama yesterday in that first game was something that we had seen Alabama do all season long, right? They were a gritty group. They had that fight. They had that energy. And then you've got all the momentum, right? You're going into the bottom of the seventh. If you can get out of the bottom of the seventh with no runs scored, hey, we're going into extra innings, and Alabama's got a chance to win that game and advance to the finals in the Women's College World Series. And suddenly, I think it was literally first pitch, bottom of the seventh inning, gone. Solo home run shot, and Alabama, Mia Williams just absolutely drilled that thing to left center field there. It wasn't the first one. I apologize. First batter, but it was 2 balls, 1 strike, and then she just absolutely drilled a ball over to left field there. And suddenly Alabama just has their hearts ripped out. I mean, Alabama had, unfortunately, their hearts ripped out in game one yesterday afternoon. And then, hey, we're going to immediately turn around and we're going to play game 2. Texas Tech didn't even change their uniforms. Alabama at least got to go from the visiting team to the home team. So they changed out of the gray uniforms with the block A into the regular white uniforms with the script Alabama on the front there. And it was do or die at that point for Alabama. Do or die for Alabama and Texas Tech in the elimination game. The winner was heading to the National Championship Series to face Texas. The loser, utter heartbreak. Your season is over. And that was the case for Alabama. The season ended last night in game 2 against Texas Tech. Scoreless frames to start the first 3 innings there. Scoreless frames for both teams. Jocelyn Brisky throwing again for Alabama. Texas Tech gets 1 run there in the 4th inning. It was a solo shot. First pitch of the 4th inning, solo shot. Jasmine Burns sends that thing up over center field. And again, Alabama's got their back against the wall. The Tide just unfortunately not able to get the job done there when you look at the matchup against Texas Tech. Texas Tech adds an insurance run with a single from Laura Allred, but a wild throw from a wild pitch or an error, I guess, from center field resulted in the ball ending up in the dugout, which allowed Texas Tech to score their insurance run. Not that they needed it, because Alabama was shut out for just the second time this season here. Texas Tech, 2 runs on 10 hits. Alabama, no runs on 2 hits. Alabama damn near got perfect gamed out there yesterday evening, but the season is over. Alabama softball, it was an incredible season for them. I don't know if Jackson Norris, if y'all got to listen to our radio broadcast, Gray Robertson, Tom Canterbury, you go into the day, you wake up yesterday morning thinking, all right, Alabama's got a really good shot here. You got to win one of the 2 games. Alabama has a very, very good shot to go play for a national championship. You had basically handled all your business in the postseason. I mean, dominated regionals, didn't allow a run in regionals, only allowed 1 run in supers. You took care of business against UCLA and Nebraska. You fought back and did your thing there. And suddenly it all comes to an end on a Tuesday or it all comes to end on a Monday night in June. You got to be proud of what Team 30 did there at the University of Alabama. Regardless, there's multiple ways this could be looked at here. You can either look at it as this was a disappointment of a season. You brought home no hardware after the incredible season that they had, beating Texas in the regular season, beating Arkansas, beating Florida State, finishing second in the SEC regular season. You can look at it one of two ways. This was a disappointing season. I guess there's three ways that you can look at it. But the two extreme reactions are, this was a disappointing season. You did everything that you needed to do in order to, quote unquote, fix the issues that you had, right? You had concerns about hitting. You had concerns about not having that superstar pitcher out there, because Jocelyn Brisky, last time we saw her in 2025, it maybe wasn't her best stuff. But you fixed everything, right? You brought in a hitting coach. You got the next step from Jocelyn Brisky. Vic Moten was an all-SEC freshman of the year type of pitcher. And you brought in the hitters, Brooke Wells, Alexis Papillo, Marley Giles. They were doing everything that they needed to do to help Alabama kind of fix their hitting issues here. When you look at Alabama softball, Papillo and Wells, they both hit over 20 home runs. First time in program history you've had that. Second time in program history you've ever eclipsed 100 home runs in a season as a team. So all the criticisms of Patrick Murphy over the last 2-3 seasons, they kind of went away this season for Alabama. And so, but no SEC regular season title because you lost that series to Tennessee. No SEC championship, no SEC tournament championship because you got the doors blown off you by Texas. And now no Women's College World Series title. So one extreme is, hey, this was a really disappointing season. I'm very disappointed in the way things ended and how Alabama finished down the stretch there. The other extreme here is, look, they were picked to finish 9th in the SEC. Nobody had Alabama doing what they did this season. Nobody expected the hitting to take the massive lead that it did. Nobody expected the pitching to be at the level that it was, even though we know Patrick Murphy and Lance and his history and their history with pitchers here in Tuscaloosa. Hey, we don't expect Alabama to have the pitching. We don't expect Alabama to be able to hit the ball. And so we're going to pick Alabama to finish in the bottom half of the SEC. Alabama picked to finish 9th in the preseason SEC poll. Well, Alabama kind of righted that shit, right? Righted all the wrongs. They proved all the doubters wrong. Second in the SEC in the regular season, made the SEC tournament championship, and was one win away from playing for a national championship in the Women's College World Series finals there. I think the way you look at this Alabama season is you have to look at Team 30 in this light. They proved the doubters wrong. Yes, picked to finish 9th in the SEC, doubting the bats, doubting the pitching. They proved that wrong by finishing second in the SEC and making the SEC tournament championship game against Texas. But you can also be a little bit disappointed in the way that the season ended and the way that things happened. And look, I don't want to hit them while they're down. Audrey Vandergriff misjudged a ball in left field in that first game, and in that 2-run home run that Texas Tech had to kind of to take the lead against Alabama there in that matchup in game number 1 there in the 5-4 loss for Alabama. A lot of people are attacking her online. I don't think it wasn't that she tried. I don't think it's not that she didn't try. It's not that she, didn't care. It's not a lack of effort. I mean, these players have been playing since February, and they were a win away from a national championship appearance. They were trying their best. They were trying their hardest, but I think it just ended up being, look, she may have mistimed that ball. That ball is coming from way up in the sky, and you're making a split-second decision on, all right, where do I need to jump? How do I need to jump? Where's my glove need to be? You're processing a lot of information very, very quickly, and maybe that ball just drifted a little bit, or a gust of wind could have come through, and suddenly that ball is, 6 inches further back than she had expected, and the ball hit her glove. I mean, she did a good job of trying to get there and being in the position to make the play, but, you need to have the hitting, you need to have the pitching, you need to have the coaching, and then in order to win a national championship, you need a little bit of luck on your side, and Alabama didn't have that luck last night against Texas Tech. So the season comes to an end for Team 30 and Alabama softball. Still a very, very special season for them. I said it yesterday, we have a hand in broadcasting a lot of these games for the entire first half of the season. Our producers, our staff are the ones producing these games for the Crimson Tide Sports Network, Gray Robertson, Tom Canterbury. So we I don't want to say we develop a relationship with the team, but we're invested in the team, right? We obviously have a hand in what they're doing, or have a hand in the broadcast. So we see the team, we hear the team, we understand what they're going through and what they're playing, what they're doing. So you develop that little bit of relationship with the team, and you want to see them succeed because you develop the relationships with these people. But still, a really, really good season for Alabama softball. A lot of the players on last night's team, they're coming back. Jocelyn Brisky's a junior. Vic Moten is a freshman. I think Brooke Wells has still got eligibility left. And so a lot of your key pieces, a lot of your core from this year's team that proved all the doubters wrong, they're back in 2027. And you cannot underestimate what Women's College World Series, you can't underestimate what World Series experience brings. Alabama's got that experience now. Yes, you're going to have to replace some key players like Amarlee Giles, the captain and the catcher of that team. So you got to replace her. There's a couple of others out there that you'll have to end up replacing. Kristen White, the center fielder, as well. But I still like where Alabama sits going into 2027, assuming everything kind of, the ones that can come back do come back and things like that. So we're off and running here on the Deep South College Football Show. Just talked a little bit about Alabama softball. On the other side of this break, we'll dive into quarterbacks in the SEC as we've got quarterback battles going on across the country. What's going on in these quarterback battles here? Who do we think is going to end up being the starter at some of these SEC teams? We'll talk about it on the other side here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, the Deep South College Football Show YouTube page, the Tide 100.9 Facebook page, and
joint pain and more. No referral? No problem. Search DCH Spine Care on Google. DCH's Spine Care Center. Get back in the game.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Tuesday edition of The Game, we'll recap Alabama, Texas Tech. We'll also get you ready for Alabama Crimson Tide baseball. We'll do that with Mike Detillier, WWL, the Big 870. Starting at 2 p.m. on The Game with Ryan Fowler on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
The longest-running sports talk show in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and 1230 a.m. WTBC. And streaming worldwide on the free Tide app.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites, from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more info on marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa, call 205-345-7200 or click on Advertise with Us on our website.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. A scattering of showers and storms over West Alabama right now. Those will continue to sag southward throughout the remainder of the day as a front drops southward. 86 are high today with a chance of showers and storms. Low tonight 65. Sunshine returns tomorrow. High tomorrow 82. Thursday sunny 83. Wrap up the week with sunshine. Friday high temperatures in the mid 80s. Richard Wedding at the Weather Channel for Town Square Media Tuscaloosa.
It's 86 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
24/7, 365. We've got all your coverage of the Crimson Tide on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
Welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports and SEC football. As we are talking SEC football right now here on the Deep South College Football Show. Jackson, we got SEC quarterback competitions going on across the country here across the conference, I should say. We'll start in just alphabetical order. So right off the top, we got Alabama with Austin Mack versus Keelan Russell. Two guys that were on this roster last season. We know Austin Mack, redshirt junior, Keelan Russell, redshirt freshman. We saw Keelan Russell on A-Day. We saw Austin Mack on A-Day. Mack didn't have his best stuff, but at the same time, Mack was banged up. He looked really, really good in sparing reps last season for Alabama. I thought he came into the Indiana game in the Rose Bowl and looked actually pretty damn good. He led Alabama's only scoring drive in the limited reps that he got in the Rose Bowl. Now, in limited reps during the course of the season, he had some pretty good throws. He made some big plays, but Keelan Russell flashed the arm, flashed the electric ability in the two games that he played against Louisiana Monroe and Eastern Illinois. And then on A-Day, he was the star of the show. Jackson, Matt Zenitz of CBS Sports and Chris Hummer of 247 Sports co-wrote an article where they did some kind of some post-spring kind of what they're hearing here. And they said that Keelan Russell, if they had to name a quarterback right now, if those two did, Keelan Russell probably would have a slight lean to win that quarterback job for Alabama. So I'm putting you on the spot. We're here in the month of June. It's prediction season. Who wins the starting quarterback job in Tuscaloosa?
I would have to agree with the CBS guys there. I mean, just looking at it, obviously we're not in that building.
Yeah.
But if you look at the ULM tape alone from last year,
yeah,
there's no question that Keelan has the immediate upside that you would want in a quarterback. And everybody, he came in as a 5-star quarterback, top-rated quarterback in his class. Wasn't he an Elite 11 MVP as well?
He was, yes.
So he's got the pedigree, he's got the talent, and when you have Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer in there coaching the quarterbacks, you're going to get something special, and you're going to get a quality quarterback to come out of it through development. That being said, I do think Austin Mack does bring a little more experience, but would experience or ceiling? Because he'll gain that experience, and it'll gain, they basically have the same amount of experience. I mean, Austin Mack has, a half of a start in a game.
He's got more practice reps than Keelan Russell does.
For sure. But, I mean, it's just hard to keep him on the bench. It's just going to be hard to keep him on the bench when you're seeing him do these just illustrious plays in practice. You're watching him just... And if you're still having trouble on the offensive line and in the run game, his legs can, definitely open that up a little more for you as well.
And that's exactly what Matt Zenitz and Chris Hummer said. Look, Austin Mack's got the experience. He's probably the quote-unquote safer option between the two because Keelan Russell, he's got to work on, having that sixth sense and feeling the pressure and getting out of the pocket when he needs to get out of the pocket. But Keelan Russell's ceiling is so much higher. And if you've got issues along the offensive line, Keelan Russell probably provides a little bit more of that dynamic ability with his legs. And so I think if it comes down to, offensive line may not be quite as fixed as what Alabama was hoping, or you need the explosivity there, I think you got to roll with Keelan Russell. So on the spot, because it's June, it's prediction season, we're going to roll with Keelan Russell to win the starting quarterback job at the University of Alabama. Obviously still got fall camp. You're going to see both quarterbacks in week 1 against East Carolina. No doubt about it. It's just a matter of who gets that start and who comes out of Lexington, Kentucky in week number 2 as your starting quarterback here. So we are rolling with Keelan Russell here to win the starting quarterback job at the University of Alabama for head coach Kalen DeBoer and offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb. The next quarterback that we want to talk about here, no quarterback competition down on the Plains. It is going to be Byron Brown, the South Florida transfer quarterback who followed head coach Alex Golish from South Florida to Auburn. And Jackson, a big thing about Byron Brown is what he can do with his legs. Obviously, the arm is, you got to have an arm to be a quarterback, but he's such a dynamic runner. He's such a freak of nature athletically that they may have to rely on Byron Brown because you look at the offensive line, they lost their starting center. They lost a couple of other pieces on that offensive line. You lost all your major wide receivers from last season. Eric Singleton is now sitting in Gainesville, Florida with the Gators. Cam Coleman is in Austin, Texas. Malcolm Simmons, I completely don't know where Malcolm Simmons ended up, but he's not in Auburn anymore. So your top 3 receivers from last season, gone. Can you realistically rely on Jeremiah Cobb to be that, 20, 25 carries a game really kind of take the pressure off the offense if he can get that yardage with 20-plus carries a game. I don't know that that's the case. And I don't know that you want that to be the case, right? Because if you're giving him 20 carries a game early in the season against Baylor, Southern Miss, Florida, suddenly it becomes really, really difficult to envision him still being in that role by the time you get to Georgia in October or Alabama in late November. And those are two key games for Auburn. They have not beaten Georgia since 2017. They haven't beaten Alabama since 2019. And both those games, by the way, are not going to be played in Auburn, right? Both those games, the Georgia game's going to be in Athens. The Alabama game's going to be in Tuscaloosa. So you're already walking into hostile environments, probably less talented than those two teams. And, oh, by the way, they're rivalry games, so you're not getting overlooked in those matchups at all. Kirby's done a really good job of making sure everybody pays attention to what Auburn's bringing to the table. Kalen DeBoer and Alabama have defeated Auburn the last two seasons, once in Tuscaloosa, once down on the Plains. And that game against Auburn down in Jordan-Hare Stadium was not as close as what the scoreboard indicates. I understand, Alabama needed a fourth down touchdown to win that game, but Alabama was up, was up by 21 points at one point in that game. So kind of seems like the Tide took the foot off the gas. But what do we expect Byron Brown to bring to the table for Auburn this season?
I really don't know. I mean, it could go two ways. It could go, he's hanging in there. It could be an Arkansas-type season for Auburn. When I say that, I mean it could be, you're getting a Taylor Green-type performance every game, but you're still coming up short. It could be you're getting Jackson Arnold-type performances where, we heard the same thing about Jackson Arnold coming into last year. Oh, he's a deadly weapon with his legs. Oh, and he can actually kind of sling the rock a little bit. Well, he couldn't sling the rock, and what did teams do? They just loaded the box and stopped their run. So it could go either way there. So, I mean, it remains to be seen. Auburn, they like to tout, we have the next Cam Newton every year, but they never do.
They do like to tout that a lot down there on the Plains. All right, we're off and rolling talking quarterbacks here in the SEC. On the next side of the break here, we'll talk Arkansas, Florida, and we won't spend a ton of time on the teams that have established starters that are kind of coming back from last season. So probably won't spend too much time talking Georgia and Gunnar Stockton because there's so many other quarterbacks that we need to talk about here on the Deep South.
Experience is preferred but not required. Apply at coviacorp.com or call the Covia office at 205-758-8353.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Tuesday edition of The Game, we'll recap Alabama, Texas Tech. We'll also get you ready for Alabama Crimson Tide baseball. We'll do that with Mike Detillier, WWL, the Big 870. Starting at 2 p.m. on The Game with Ryan Fowler on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
The longest-running sports talk show in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and 1230 a.m. WTBC. And streaming worldwide on the free Tide app.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more info on marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa, call 205-345-7200 or click on Advertise with Us on our website.
Did you miss any episode on Tide 100.9? Don't worry. All of our shows can be found on Spotify and Apple Music and on demand on the Tide 100.9 app.
Rolling through SEC teams here on Deep South College Football Show. We talked Auburn and Alabama in the previous segment. Now we're talking about the Arkansas Razorbacks here. New head coach Ryan Silverfield with the Razorbacks. They've got a quarterback battle there between KJ Jackson, who stepped in last season when Taylor Green wasn't able to go for the Razorbacks, and A.J. Hill, a true freshman last year at Memphis. That was Ryan Silverfield's starter at Memphis. Jackson, Arkansas on SI reported earlier in the month of May, about midway through May, that Arkansas head coach Ryan Silverfield is perfectly content letting these two kind of duel it out throughout deep into fall camp if it has to go that way, and maybe even potentially that first game of the season against North Alabama.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of find it hard to believe that he doesn't roll with his North Texas quarterback. I mean, North Texas had a heck of a season last year, almost made the playoffs.
Did I say North Texas? I meant Memphis. I'm sorry.
Memphis. Whoops. North Texas is Oklahoma State. Yeah, Memphis. I mean, they came back and beat Arkansas. So, I mean, there is, that SEC, I guess you can call it almost pedigree, where, he has that experience to beat an SEC team, although that SEC team was Arkansas, which is now where he's coaching. So, I do find it hard to believe that he won't roll with that quarterback. I mean, the experience and the repertoire, I mean, it's just there. It makes it easier.
And we did get to see KJ Jackson in 2 games for Arkansas last season as a starter here against Texas in a 52-37 loss. He completed 55% of his passes for 206 yards and a touchdown. Also had 17 rushing yards and a touchdown. Against Missouri, he had 126 passing yards and a touchdown. No rushing touchdowns, but over the course of the 2025 season, he threw for 441 yards and 3 scores. A.J. Hill on the other side, I guess is the backup quarterback. Excuse me. I said he was the starter last year, but he was the backup. He completed 59% of his passes for 223 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception there. But the talent for those 2 guys is very evident. And so I think when you look at Arkansas here, I think you do kind of have to let them play it out here, right? I think, North Alabama, you've got a brutal schedule if you're Arkansas. It's really, really tough for the Razorbacks. So I think you kind of let them play it out against North Alabama in week 1, figure out who kind of was the better quarterback that day, and then you name a starting quarterback going into that week 2 road game at Utah, because those next 2 games after North Alabama, it's at Utah and it's Georgia at 11 a.m. So you've got a very, very tough back-to-back set of games there if you're Arkansas there. We're through 3 teams, and we've got potentially 2 transfer starters, and that trend will kind of stay the same here as we look at the Florida Gators. When you look at Aaron Philo, the transfer from Georgia Tech, coming over with offensive coordinator Buster Faulkner, and Tramel Jones, who was the backup quarterback at Florida last season with DJ Lagway as the starting quarterback. For these 2 quarterbacks, though, they do have some experience. Aaron Philo got the start against, who is this? Gardner Webb. And in that matchup, he threw for 373 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Tramel Jones got meaningful reps against Long Island University with 131 yards and 2 touchdowns here for Florida under new head coach John Summerall. Philo being a transfer quarterback, Jones being the returning backup from last season behind DJ Lagway there. Jackson, I think you got to roll with Aaron Philo. So for Arkansas, okay, because it is June and it is prediction season, who do you have winning that starting quarterback job for Arkansas?
Not KJ Jackson. Although I do
A.J. Hill.
A.J. Hill. I do feel like KJ Jackson, he is a good quarterback, very serviceable. I think, maybe a little more development needs to happen there before he is a bona fide starter. But, A.J. Hill, for sure. And then I do think Florida, you got to roll with Philo. I mean, in his press conferences, he's sitting there saying, oh, no, the Georgia hate is real. I've hated him my whole life, and now I get to do it at Florida and continue to hate him. So it's what you want in a quarterback at Florida.
He understands what that rivalry is, absolutely. Playing at Georgia Tech, you got clean old-fashioned hate between Georgia and Georgia Tech. So he's been a part of that rivalry there. Now he's at Florida and still a rival of Georgia in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. I think you got to roll with Philo. He plays such a similar scheme to what Haynes King did for Georgia Tech, just putting your body on the line, play in, play out. We've talked about the story about Haynes King in Georgia multiple times now at this point, but You've got to roll with Aaron Philo, though. He understands the Buster Faulkner offense. He provides that dynamic running ability that Georgia Tech's offense last season really relied on with Haynes King and Jamal Haynes at running back. And now this year at Florida, you've got Aaron Philo potentially at quarterback and Jaden Baugh at that running back spot, probably the third best running back in the SEC, which could realistically probably be top 4 running back in college football. I think Isaac Brown's got a case for that conversation over at Louisville. Justice Haynes is in that conversation at Georgia Tech now. But Florida's done a really good job of merging returning talent on the roster by keeping guys like Jaden Baugh, like Dallas Wilson, and then bringing in very talented transfer players like an Aaron Philo, like an Eric Singleton. So I'm going to roll with Aaron Philo for the Florida Gators here. I think he's the guy that you got to roll with if you are Florida. Next up here, we're not going to spend too much time on this one. Gunnar Stockton at Georgia. He was the starting quarterback last season for Georgia, had a beautiful touchdown pass to London Humphreys to beat Tennessee, was one of the key pieces in that victory over Alabama in the SEC championship game, had multiple big plays. And so for Georgia, what it is at this point, Jackson, because we talk about Georgia as much as we talk about Alabama on this program, when it comes to Georgia, you've got to see Gunnar Stockton be able to layer those throws. You've got to see Gunnar Stockton maybe trust his arm a little bit more compared to his legs. We know what he is as a runner. We know he's such a dynamic runner, and he's physical, right? He's a physical quarterback, and that's what Georgia really, really wants. But Georgia's offense, one of the biggest criticisms about Georgia's offense for years now has been, hey, they are built to play out in front. They are built to get that, 7-point, 10-point, 14-point lead and just hold the ball and and just suffocate you, squeeze the life out of an opposing team by dominating in the trenches, by dominating in the run game. And then suddenly Georgia's having to play from behind a couple of times last season, had to play from behind against Tennessee, had to play from behind against Alabama in that first matchup in Athens there. Against Tennessee, Gunnar Stockton delivered. They trusted his arm. And against Alabama, Georgia couldn't deliver. Georgia couldn't secure the victory against the Crimson Tide. So, Jackson, it comes down to how much does Georgia trust Gunnar Stockton? How much does Georgia trust that right arm on Gunnar Stockton here? At least in my opinion, that's what it comes down to.
No, that's definitely what it comes down to. But I don't think it's a factor of them not trusting him. I think it's a factor of, okay, do we have the pass catchers out wide to secure those balls that he's throwing their way in order to do what we want to do and need to do what we need to do on offense in order to, win those big games? Because, you saw it in the Alabama game. Gunnar Stockton throws a beautiful pass over the middle to Talon Taylor. He drops it. True freshman.
Yeah.
Now, they're very high on him, Talon Taylor, that is. Anyway, despite that pass, he did get injured, and so he didn't play much the rest of the year. So, you have C.J. Wiley, Talon Taylor, Lawson Lucky, Caden Protro out there. So you got a bunch of young guys out there out wide, and I think that's where the hesitation comes from for throwing the rock. But also, like you said, he's got the legs. They have Nate Frazier. They have Chauncey Bowens. They have, those returning starters on the offensive line. So do you need to do it that much? Probably not. Will you have to do it? Absolutely. And so I think that's where, the differential comes in. But I will also say if they can get any kind of resemblance back to, because I do feel it's very comparable of the style of offense that they ran in 21 and 22 with Stetson Bennett, I think you're golden.
I think so too. I think Gunnar Stockton, if Georgia does end up winning the national championship this season, right now they're one of my 2 picks to play in the SEC championship. I think I've pretty much solidified that prediction. But if Georgia is going to win an SEC championship and compete for a national championship, win a playoff game, because the SEC hasn't won one against non-SEC opponents in quite some time here. If Georgia is going to compete for a national championship, win an SEC championship, you got to see that next step from Gunnar Stockton. Everything around him is ready to go outside of maybe potentially that receiver position. But regardless, though, really, really like what Gunnar Stockton brings to the table.
Absolutely. I would also say that I think the most important quarterback battle for Georgia is not, who is somebody going to beat out Gunnar Stockton? No. It's that QB2. Is it going to be Ryan Puglisi? Is it going to be Ryan Montgomery? Because, like you said, Gunner is very physical. He likes to use his legs a lot. And so if he, does go down, God forbid, then, you're going to need that QB2 to step up and, really play.
And we've seen Georgia have to rely on that QB2 before, right? I mean, you look at, JT Daniels started the 2021 season. Well, Stetson Bennett comes in off the bench and ends up taking the starting job. And now we know in hindsight, leads Georgia to 2 national championships. In the Stetson Bennett era, Carson Beck had to get some meaningful reps because Bennett was, in and out of the lineup a couple of times early due to injury. Carson Beck went down with that elbow injury in the SEC championship against Texas 2 seasons ago, and Gunnar Stockton had to come in and take some meaningful reps. So Georgia has done a really good job of developing those quarterbacks with, Stetson Bennett, Carson Beck, and now Gunnar Stockton. But if the injury luck, and Jake Fromm
went down first game. Jake Fromm leads them to a national title appearance.
He did. So Georgia's got a little bit of experience kind of playing with a backup quarterback, having a backup quarterback ready to go. So like you said, that battle between Ryan Montgomery and Ryan Puglisi is just as, if not more important than what happens with Gunnar Stockton here in fall camp. On the other side of the break, we'll wrap up the loose ends. We'll kind of carry this quarterback conversation into a little bit of tomorrow as well here on the Deep South College Football Show. But we'll wrap up the loose ends and get you ready for the game with Ryan Fowler on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
Alabama softball's great run in the Women's College World Series ended last night after they lost back-to-back games to Texas Tech. Tuscaloosa City Schools are looking to hire bus drivers for the upcoming academic year, with hourly pay starting around $24 and a hefty signing bonus to sweeten the deal. And dozens of local restaurants, coffee shops, and more are rolling out limited-time menu items and deals when Tuscaloosa Restaurant Week returns later this month. For the details on these stories and more free coverage of local news, get connected at TuscaloosaThread.com.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Tuesday edition of The Game, we'll recap Alabama, Texas Tech. We'll also get you ready for Alabama Crimson Tide baseball. We'll do that with Mike Detillier, WWL, the Big 870. Starting at 2 p.m. on The Game with Ryan Fowler on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
The longest-running sports talk show in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6.
Bluetooth kits, and so much more. If your golf cart needs repairs, the pros at Dixie Custom Carts can handle the job. Dixie Custom Carts, Greensboro Avenue in Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. A scattering of showers and storms over West Alabama right now. Those will continue to sack southward throughout the remainder of the day as a front drops southward. 86 are high today with a chance of showers and storms. Low tonight 65. Sunshine returns tomorrow. High tomorrow 82. Thursday sunny 83. Wrap up the week with sunshine. Friday high temperatures in the mid 80s. Richard DeWetting at the Weather Channel for Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
It's 87 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Your front row seat to all things Alabama. Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Only got a couple of minutes left on the show here, so we'll go ahead and jump out on the phone lines, 205-342-9904. Let's talk with Digger down in Louisiana. How you doing, man?
Good. Thanks a lot for leaving me with the Texas Tech Red Raiders. I'd much rather have a matchup with Alabama. But, by the way, this is a sidebar thing. Listen, don't leave that girl alone. Come on. Until you played outfield on a softball field in the twilight, I promise you, it's not that easy to catch a softball with the lights on.
No, absolutely not.
I think she misjudged it with the light over home plate, and she misjudged her timing. Okay? It's not that she couldn't jump. Come on. Give me a break. Anyway, so...
There's people on Twitter slamming her, but... There's people on Twitter that slam her, but like you said, I'd like to see them go try and do it.
Yeah. It's a nut-hugging experience. It's very difficult to do, and you got to know what you're doing. And if you haven't done it before, you're going to look like an ass clown out there. But real quick, since y'all didn't give me the chance to exercise my demons against the Crimson Tide, I'm going to have to go on prayer mode here because this girl here that's pitching for Texas Tech is ridiculous. She can palm a basketball.
She legitimately had, that was her prime performance is what she did in Game 2 against Alabama. She's had a really good year, but for her it was considered a down season. But last night in Game 2, that was her prime.
Did you see her grip the ball? Those aren't hands. Those are talons. She's alien, man. I'm telling you.
She's phenomenal.
Had no business winning last year. And the only reason why we won is that, she was clowning around on the mound, and she got careless, and we had to go hero ball, and we got a hit when we really didn't have a chance at it. So we won, and we're going to take that all the way to the bank. But I promise you, this is going to be very difficult. I called it before. You got to get past Texas Tech, and this is what we're going to have to do. Pray. Now, keep this in mind, and I'll let you go on this. Okay? Texas Tech, the Campbells are considered the Trumps of Texas, okay? They're really ridiculous. They're clowning around. They got their own PR agent, okay? And Cody Campbell, people don't know this. Cody Campbell didn't make his billion, okay? His wife, Daddy, set him up, okay? And the wife is military, by the way. She can fly helicopters. Very impressive girl, okay? So, and again, I'm not knocking Cody Campbell. You still got a leg out to work to become a billionaire, okay? And it's not easy to do that. But when you're propped up by your wife's daddy, okay, there's a little difference there, okay?
Hey, you better be careful because they're gonna tell you to line it up Oklahoma drill.
Right. So I mean, and look, come on. You want us to play Texas Tech in week 0.
I was going to say, you better be careful.
Ohio State, and then we got to go play Ohio State. Come on. And go look at their schedule. They won't play a Power 4 team.
Well, okay.
But you can beat them with your twos and your threes.
real quick. What exactly did Sark say? Sark said they could beat Texas Tech's schedule with the 2s and 3s. He didn't say they could beat Texas Tech with 2s and 3s.
Word for word, he said it like that, okay? He didn't say he called out Texas Tech and we'll play you anytime, anywhere. Look at their schedule. They don't have a
Big
Power
12 soft
for the next 4 years.
Yeah, but
they're Big 12 soft.
But McGuire's comeback to that, he knew you guys wouldn't fess up to it.
Oh, yeah, they're carnival barkers out there. And look, I guarantee you the camera's going to be on them. They'll be flashing them for the next 3 days in the crowd, and they're going to call them out and say, look at that. Oh, my God, here we go.
They need to be more focused on finding they need to be more focused on finding a quarterback, not calling out or not misconstruing what Steve Sarkisian's saying.
And listen, one more thing, and I'll let you go on this. They hired that attorney, Keller, brilliant lawyer, and I wouldn't be surprised that he gets them off the hook and they get to play. He went to the NCAA handbook and looked around, frowned around, and you found the one line that says, we will be responsible for the student-athlete welfare. And he's going to use that against them. He's going to say, y'all didn't look out for him. He was addicted to gambling. Y'all could have addressed this before it got even worse. Oh, man. If he gets them off on that, I'm going to be furious. Let you go.
All right. That was our friend down in Louisiana here joining us via the phone lines. That'll do it for us today on the Deep South College Football Show. Big thanks to Jackson and Norris for hanging out with us today on the program. Big thanks to him for calling in here as well. Coming up next.
Today on the pod, we're talking to Megan, trapeze artist and Scratchers enthusiast. So, Megan, what do you like about playing Scratchers?
Well, they're easy to play when I'm hanging around.
Oh, okay. Like when you're relaxing?
No, like when I'm hanging on the trapeze. I swing upside down, then do a quadruple somersault, all while playing Scratchers. Watch this. Ta-da!
Unbelievable.
I know, right?
Scratchers from the California Lottery. A little play can make your day. Please play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to purchase, play, or claim.